Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, the owner of Your Home Sold, Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, skepticism is pretty common when doing business with anyone. Many people think that agents may not provide accurate valuations just in order to get business from that home seller. So, in your experience, what has been the case when you're talking with home sellers about property values?
Well, Richard, typically the feedback I get, like I met with a seller just a week ago, and he said, we've sold 12 houses. We've never seen anything like this. Nobody's ever taken the time to show us all this stuff. So I think that I think it's just a lack of experience that goes on out there, lack of knowledge as far as property values. And one of the things that everybody knows since the NAR settlement happened, commission is no longer offered as a entitlement through the MLS. So they actually have to negotiate for it to get the seller to pay for it within the contract itself. The problem with that is that a lot of these agents really don't know how to establish their value. So what I'm finding is when I'm getting offers on my listings, the agents are justifying their value by right out of the gate beating up the seller on the price, saying, oh, it's not worth that much. I just got one. It's a completely remodeled, beautiful home where the agent sends over, quote, similar sales. And all of those were a 50s time warp without updating. Yet this one's remodeled. And he thinks that's free for some reason. And I tried to explain it to him. And I felt like, honestly, Richard, I felt like I was getting mansplained
Oh,
throughout these
geez.
negotiations. Like he was going to tell me, I'm like, dude, I've sold thousands of homes. I'm not trying to brag, but I've been doing this 29 years. I sell a lot of homes and I do a lot of home values. And I've been to appraiser school in past. So I know what the difference is between what a buyer would pay more for a updated home versus not updated, or a home that has views versus doesn't have views. Those are different deals. Those are different offers, right? And different sales prices. And I can prove that over and over again. But this agent was so convinced that he was going to protect his buyer from the house by convincing them it wasn't worth that much, right? So much so that he, quote, negotiated them right out of that house, even though they presented a cash proof of cash that they had 4 times the money to buy that home. Does that make sense? And oh, by the way, he was certain he deserved 3% for that. So I just sent him an email. I said, okay, you're asking the seller to pay you more money to beat him down on price. How is that fair? You know, and he didn't have an answer for me. So it's getting worse before it gets better. I don't think that this change made any difference other than these guys are out there trying to beat their chest and justify their reason for being paid that much money. And I tried to lay it out in dollars and cents. I said, okay, if this goes through, you're going to make $20,000, you know, and for what? For opening a door, writing a 10-minute contract, and then trying to beat the seller up on price, trying to mansplain to me about what the home is worth. And so it didn't work out well. And I didn't do this in a vacuum. Like I was coordinating with the seller. I wanted to know his opinion. It doesn't matter what I think. It matters what the seller thinks at the end of the day. And the seller didn't agree with him either. I said, look at these comps he's sending. They're all 50s time warp. None of them have been updated. I said, and so I sent this buyer before and after pictures. Like, okay, here's the before of the kitchen. Here's before there was no driveway. Here's the before of the old falling down deck. Here's the before of the old dated bathrooms. All the drywall in the basement was gone. Those things cost money and buyers will pay for it. But he was just so convinced his establishment of value was trying to prove to the buyer and try to prove to me and the seller that because he bought it at a discount, he also put a lot of money into it to bring it to the standard that it was today, trying to convince me and the seller that it wasn't worth what he was asking. And the problem is his buyer doesn't get the house. And that is an absolute failure. At the end of the day, if you got a buyer that wants to buy and a seller that wants to sell, and the dummy real estate agent that's so arrogant that he can't see past that his buyer wants the house, he talks them out of it. So they're going to end up with a lesser house. Now, do you think that's right? Is that the right thing to do?
Boy, that isn't even close to being the right thing to do. When you're a deal breaker for any reason other than it's a bad deal, you've got a problem.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, I can convince you. Bye bye. There'll be another buyer that will come along. So anyway, it's insanity to me what's going on, and I see it over and over again. If they don't do it with negotiations, they do it with inspections. I mean, they will give the house a full-on check in and out. I'm talking every kind of test known to man, and talk them out of buying the house. Now, every house, even new houses, have issues. And a logical person that really wants the house would say, okay, well, it's an older home. All right, it's got some issues, maybe not major issues, but almost anything is fixable. So I just think that that's what's happening right now. That could be why there are fewer sales happening right now as well. As far as establishing an asking price, part of the reason why the average days on market is over 83 days right now is that these agents are don't know how to competitively price the home, right? So they're telling these sellers, "Oh, look, that one sold for this price. So therefore you must get that price." Or I would pad in a little negotiating. All that stuff is a huge mistake. You get your best offers if you price it right out of the gate. And I don't know why they aren't trained to do that. And I meet more and more sellers that have fired another agent because their house sat on the market. They priced it too high. They slowly walked the price down, which the National Association of Realtors tells us if you slowly walk the price down, on average, you're going to net less money. You're better off pricing it quickly. And the longer it sits on the market, the more likely it is that the buyer is not going to pay full price for the home because they think the seller is desperate. So anyway, I guess I just get frustrated over this, and the ones that are smart and bring good offers, they're going to get paid the most and their buyers are going to get the house, which is a bonus. This is still a strong market, right? And I think that buyer and the seller said something to me yesterday about all these negotiations with this dummy agent, because one of the things he put in his email was, oh, well, there are other homes that they could live with. And he goes, I thought this was a great quote. He goes, people don't get married because they just could live with them. It's the same thing with a house. You don't buy a house because it's just okay and you could live with it, right? They have to really want it. So if they're making an offer, they really want it. Why would you be an agent that gets in the middle and says, I am the master of the real estate universe. I'm going to save you some money. It's not worth that much. Watch me fly. And guess what? They blow it up, right? And it's sad. But anyway, what I mean by that is that these are statistics that don't come from me. These come from these real estate companies. A lot of these big box real estate companies, the best real estate agents are selling 4 homes a year. Okay. And half of the 5,400 in this market are not selling any houses. So for somebody that's selling 4 homes a year, how well can they really give you a good idea what your home is worth if they're not educated on how to really evaluate the market? They probably could do it if they knew how to evaluate the market, but the problem is that they don't, and they just make a general assessment. Okay, your house is worth this much. Let me post it in the MLS and hope somebody else has a buyer so I get paid. That's how it works. So we have helped thousands of sellers. We do this all the time. You really need to look at the market overall, look at similar sales, look at the competition, look at the improvements of the competition. You know, if your competition is a 50s time warp, it's not going to be the same sales price as one that's been completely rehabbed. So I don't know why they don't know that, but sometimes they give sellers bad advice, unfortunately, and that could lead to the seller's houses sitting on the market for months and months. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of this show, Your Real Estate Voice. And we are talking about whether or not agents undervalue or inflate property value just to get a client to sign on the bottom line, buyers and sellers. And next up, we're just going to pick a few things, a few questions that you might want to think about when you're interviewing agents. Richard?
We're talking, Barb, about whether or not choosing a discount agent will be a help to a home seller who's trying to save money. Barb, what are some other things that a home seller should look for when they're choosing an agent to represent them on one of the largest assets of their life?
Well, here's the thing. Real estate has an 80% turnover of agents in the industry. A lot of them have second jobs. I can tell because I don't hear from them until after 5:30 or late at night, never during business hours. I can tell they have another job to supplement their income. So, you know, eventually those people are going to drop out because they're not focused. They're not really honing their skills to be good at this business. So a lot of them don't really understand valuation and how to really get homes sold. And we do it all the time. We know exactly what we're doing. And so one of the good questions that you should be asking to whoever you're interviewing is, you know, how many homes have you sold in the last year, in the last month? How are you going to help me price my home right? Because that's the number one thing that home sellers want to know. Besides how to get their house ready, they want to know how to get their house ready for sale and how to price it right, because they don't do this every day either. So if you'd like to get a free in-home consultation on what to do and what not to do to get your house ready for sale, go over all of the cash offers that we bring, as well as what would it cost to sell your home and how much you'll put in your pocket when it sells, give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice. That's Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. And if you're thinking of making a move, simply call Barb 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. Barb, favorite time of the show, hot new listings.
I love talking about listings. It's fun. I've got a couple of great lots. Actually, one on Ramada Point down in Fountain at 75,000. I have another beautiful one on 5 acres off Roller Coaster Road, and that one's getting some activity right away. A fabulous 5-plex on Lachelle, a gorgeous home on Crandall, just lowered their price to $439,999 with a finished basement. And some of these are selling so fast I can't keep up. I've got a great one on Alta Plaza. That one needs some work, but great lot with gorgeous views. A gorgeous remodeled home by Colorado Springs Country Club on Shelton. A spectacular home on 5 acres with an RV garage on Chalet Lane. And there's lots more, including one on Mountain Estates in Florissant, which has a great building site and a great place to start. So we've got more coming all the time. If you want to find out about all of our listings, go to barbhasthebuyers.com or call us at 719-301-3900. Richard?
You've been listening to Your Real Estate Voice. It airs every Saturday. If you're thinking of making a move, call Barb 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. And remember, you can see replays of the show on Barb's YouTube channel, Barb Has the Buyers, or listen to the podcast on all of the popular platforms. Thanks for listening. And to reach out to Barb again, 719-301-3900. Thanks for listening. Have a great weekend. You too, Barb.
Thank you. You as well.